The story of the Boston Marathon bombing is one that Mark Wahlberg felt particularly compelled to tell. The tragic events of that day unfolded on the streets that Mark grew up on. And so in making his new movie, Patriots Day, he not only paid tribute to those caught in the explosion, but to the resilience of the city he loves.
For me, it's I have so many memories here, growing up. I mean, first, 20-some odd years of my life, I spent a lot of time down here.
For actor and proud native son Mark Wahlberg, Boston's famed marathon finish line is sacred ground. This moves you still.
Oh, absolutely, absolutely. To see those faces on that tree, and just to be here. I mean, like I said, I spent a lot of years walking up and down all of these streets, and this is my home.
Home Hollywood made into a movie exploring the heartache and heroes of the 2013 Boston Marathon bombing.
We got multiple explosions. We need help down here.
In Patriots Day, Wahlberg plays fictional police sergeant Tommy Saunders, a composite character of the many men who rallied when history called.
People from all walks of life ran towards the problem, and that made me extremely proud to be a Bostonian. We've always had great sports heroes to kind of put on a pedestal, but those people redefine the term hero for me.
The film chronicles the bombings, the chaotic days following the attack.
Have a great race, everybody.
In real life, so much of the horror caught on camera.
What the hell was that?
A day none who were there can ever forget.
Oh my God, something blew up.
In a matter of seconds, 2 bombs would claim 3 lives, leaving hundreds critically injured. Confusing moments of terror, anguish, and among those in the crowd, heroes emerged.
How much of the movie was honoring the heroes of that day, and how much of the movie was about healing that's still going on in Boston?
I think more about healing and hope. And us all kind of standing up together and holding hands. These things will continue to happen, and the only real way to respond is with love and unity.
What this film is about is how the city of Boston came together, and the fact that love really does seem to rise to the surface when these horrible things happen.
It's not the first time director Peter Berg and Wahlberg have joined forces to bring a major headline to the big screen. Blockbusters released even as emotions are still raw.
Any thought that this movie might be too soon?
I was certainly on the fence about it, but then I realized that if it wasn't me, it was going to be somebody else.
On the fence, why?
For that very question, is it too soon? It's never going to be okay for certain people to have us reenact the worst day of their lives.
Come out of the house.
The goal instead would be to pay tribute to those who rushed to help the injured.
The movie is unapologetic in its praise of law enforcement. At a time in which law enforcement is scrutinized greatly in our country.
We believe that law enforcement should be applauded for the way they handled themselves. It was an example of the very best of law enforcement. There are obviously other issues, and people talk about some of the more, the problems, and some of those problems obviously should be looked at. But that doesn't mean we should be afraid to say thank you to these incredible men and women when they do something for us as selfless as what they did during those 4 days of the bombing.
But among the acts of selflessness, there was tension.
We need to release those pictures.
The film depicting the moment Boston PD clashed with the FBI, bitterly debating whether or not to release these photos of the 2 terror suspects.
Right now, Boston's working against us.
Tension, former Commissioner Ed Davis, portrayed by John Goodman, says is as real on screen as it was in person.
This is my city, Rick.
I couldn't imagine what would happen if we were in possession of these photographs and didn't release them to the public, and then someone else got hurt. I made it clear that I was going to hold the federal government accountable for that decision. I thought it was really important to get the public involved.
And for the men behind the film, accurate details were critical.
We try to be very sensitive, and we spend so much time with the victims and the survivors to make sure that we do everything we can to not traumatize them.
Survivors like newlyweds Jessica Kinsey and Patrick Downs, married just 7 months before the bombing.
This has been the best and absolute worst time in our life, but I think it really captures what this experience has been like.
The pair are avid runners, but on that day in 2013, they were there as spectators.
It's incredibly emotional to be there and see it at any part of the race, but particularly on Boylston.
So it was a joyous day for the 2 of you.
Absolutely, for the city.
And unbeknownst to them, just feet away from the first bomb.
I was actually standing behind Patrick that day, and I had my arms on his shoulder, and I was on my tippy toes. And the bomb, I know it was a little bit behind us because I really got the brunt of the BBs and ball bearings and shrapnel, and I caught on fire.
Despite that, Jess still, her nursing instincts kicked in, and when she realized how injured I was, began using her purse strap to tie a tourniquet around my leg. It's an undescribable act of heroism.
What's the vow, for better or worse?
Yeah.
And worse, she was there next to you.
That's for sure, in sickness and in health. And we thought that that was going to come much further down the line in our lives.
The recovery hasn't been easy, they say. Jessica has since had her right leg amputated, and there are more surgeries to come, the next one in January.
Any second guessing or guilt about if I hadn't said, honey, let's go to the race that day?
You can think about, did we go to the right spot? Could we have gone at a different time? But then you realize that there are only two people in this world who have to ask questions about whether or not they did what they were supposed to be doing. One's dead and one's in prison.
The Tsarnaev brothers' story also featured disturbing reminders of how they once brought a city to a standstill. Dzhokhar Tsarnaev has been sentenced to death, currently being held in a federal prison. For Jessica and Patrick, they're resilient, stronger now more than ever.
Telling your story is actually a big part of trauma therapy. And to have people care and be interested in it is actually an honor that I think a lot of trauma survivors don't receive.
At its core, Patriots Day is far less about loss. It's a tale of lessons learned and a heart-stirring reminder terror can never, has never, defeated love. One day in April, this was a crime scene. What is it now?
Well, it's always going to be a reminder of what happened. You see people have to move on with their lives, and people here showed such strength and resiliency, and to see them kind of moving forward, this is such an amazing place, and reminds us of what real love and real heroes are about.